product already prepared. We have bills drafted. Most of them have been scored already. And now we go through the process of marking it up and finding the equilibrium points with everybody.
The framework passed with 216 lawmakers voting in favor and 214 voting against it. Find more on this at afn.net. President Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs yesterday as more than 75 countries wanted to negotiate. But the president increased the tariffs to 125% for China after they increased tariffs to 84% on the U.S. Tracy Mann, U.S. Representative from Kansas, joined Washington Watch.
It also hurts when we're not able to trade our products. You know, right. when you look, I don't think we sell a single car into Germany. You know, tens of thousands of cars from Germany come into our country. We're not able to sell our ag products in Europe and all of the EU. Yet we use our military to defend them. You know, we've got to open up markets to really help our country's economy.
He talked about how those in Kansas agriculture are responding to the tariffs.
And I've heard countless producers have reached out to me, contacted me saying, hey, if we need to bear the brunt, be the tip of the spear to get to a better place for the good of the country, willing to do that, which is amazing. They're patriots through and through. Yeah. In the last, first Trump administration, when commodity prices dropped, Congress stepped in and helped to make that up to ag producers. That's certainly something that's being talked about. We'll be prepared to make sure that we have our farmers' backs.
He went on to say that agriculture is high-tech and that it is necessary to feed our country and not to have to rely on imports. Former Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen criticized Donald Trump's trade policy in an interview with CNN. She said the economy under Biden was better.
We had a very well-functioning economy, and President Trump has taken a wrecking ball to it. This is the worst self-inflicted wound that I have ever seen an administration impose on a well-functioning economy.
She also said she can't give the Trump administration a passing grade on the economy. Democrats want answers from the Trump administration about the timing of the president's pause on reciprocal tariffs. Here's Fox's Jared Halpern.
Democratic Senators Adam Schiff and Ruben Gallego want to know if anyone in President Trump's family or members of the administration engaged in insider trading or illegal activities because of advanced knowledge of the president's decision to pause wide-ranging tariffs. In a letter to White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles and the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, the Democrats point to social media posts by President Trump, who wrote hours before his announcement, "This is a great time to buy." U.S. markets surged, setting single-day highs following the tariff pause. The letter does not offer evidence of improper trades or misuse of non-public information. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Some international students at Texas universities continue to see their visas revoked. The Texas Tribune says at least 53 students are affected at 4 Texas universities. Neither university nor government officials have made it clear how students are being chosen for removal. A Department of Homeland Security statement cited 2 executive orders of the president's, described as aiming to crack down on the explosion of anti-Semitism on our campuses and in our streets. AAA says the average cost of a gallon of gas is $3.22, and a week ago it was $3.26. 1 year ago it was $3.62. And that's all our time for now. Find more news at afn.net. We do thank you for your support during this spring Shareathon. I'm Robert Thornton.
I'm Margaret in Mississippi, and AFR is the only station I listen to for the news. This is my news source because I know you're Christian-based, and I can trust you, and I enjoy all of the preachers and the commentators and everyone that speaks, and look forward to Learning University on Fridays. I enjoy everything about AFA. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
In Isaiah chapter 44, verse 3, God says, "For I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your offspring and my blessings on your descendants." It's Shareathon on American Family Radio. Help us rejoice in God's promise to pour out His Spirit. Call now and partner with AFR at 877-616-2396. That's 877-616-2396. Or give online at afr.net.
Just like Silas singing with Paul, praise can Well, hello there, friends, and welcome to the last afternoon of Shareathon. I'm so excited to be joining you today. I am here. I really want to thank my co-host today, Wesley Wildman, who is my official wingman during Shareathon, and Tony Vitaliano, who co-hosted for me yesterday. It takes a lot to keep me away from Shareathon. I usually like to go to headquarters and be in the middle of the action and hear all kinds of listener testimonies like you just heard from precious Margaret from Mississippi. Margaret, if you're listening, hello out there. Thank you so much for giving us your testimony. But most of you know, if you're my regular listener during the Dr. Nurse Mama Hour, you know that as a professor, my primary lens of scholarship, my primary area of work is actually in anti-human trafficking advocacy. I've been working in the space for about 15 years, and this week I'm actually at an international conference presenting some of the work that I've been doing, especially in schools for the last 2 years, to help equip schools to respond to kids who are at risk for being trafficked or being abused and exploited in other ways. And that is a work that is so close to my heart. And so just know that I'm not there in person. I have a good reason. I have a written excuse. Okay, I don't have a written excuse, but I'll get one. Wesley, would you write me a note to excuse me from Shareathon?
I actually have a pen right now. Now, it's not going to be on any official paper, but I will write one on this blank sheet of paper. Then I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll send it to you for you to email back in. How about that?
Okay, you know what? If Walker will accept that, I will take it. Okay, I'm looking at your mug, Wesley, online.
Yeah.
John Wesley, is that? Yeah,
that's
I see
right.
that.
Yeah. This cup was left in my papa's office when he was no longer able to come in, and at the time we were in the older building. It was 45 years old, and this was left in his office. I occupied his office for about a year or so before we built the new building, and this was left in there. And then on the back, it's got Wesley's rules of conduct. Of course, that's what's funny about it. And of course, there's some good stuff on here, but there's also some irony here that my name's Wesley, so the back's Wesley's rules of conduct, and of course, that's funny. But then it gets into some more, some really good stuff. It says, do all the good you can by all the means you can, and all the ways you can, and all the places that you can, to all the people you can, and do it as long as you ever can. So.
Well, that's pretty good. I'm wondering, is the phone number for Shareathon on the back there, Wesley? 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. We're in our last chance for you to participate, the last afternoon of Shareathon, just something that we do 2 times a year to raise support for the work of American Family Radio. So grateful to all of you who are on the air. And Wesley, actually, since Tuesday, when I announced that I was there, I've heard from several of our nurse listeners who are interested in my work in human trafficking and saying, what are you doing in this space, and what can we do? And, one of the things that I think is that as I deal with this, I mean, honestly, Wesley, it's really tough. It is hard. There are heartbreaking stories for sure. But the hope I find in all of that is God's heart. God's heart is to rise up people, to rescue the people that he loves. And we would just love for you to call in and support 877-616-2396. That's 877-616-2396. And we talked on Tuesday, Wesley, about American Family Radio partnering with 8 Days of Hope, who also does some amazing work in advocating for people who have experienced human trafficking.
Yeah, we did. We covered that. There was another thing that we covered, and this is where it kind of gets. I have a good news, bad news. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. I don't know which one. I think I'm with the good news first.
All right. Good news is that we have a $150,000 challenge from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. A $150,000 challenge that began 8 or 9 minutes ago. It will go all the way to 5 p.m. Central Time. And the challenge is where a group of supporters have generously donated leading up to Shareathon, and they are now challenging you to come alongside them and their support with to AFA and AFR. And that's what a challenge is. The challenge is meant to incentivize and to often use as television and radio fundraising campaigns, and that's what we want to do. And so that's the good news. That's the good news.
Okay, that's great news.
That's great news. That's right. Bad news is
Oh, no. Okay. I'm
And
bracing
it's
myself.
partially a confession, but I violated the very standard that I gave I had on Tuesday. Remember I said we don't need to complain?
Yes, we
Remember
talked
that?
about being grateful and having gratitude.
Yeah, and I
Did
told
you fall down,
Well,
Wesley?
I told you that was one of my two commandments. One of them's don't
Oh,
complain.
no.
Well, and I'm even referencing Philippians. Well, on Wednesday when you were not around, I let my guard down, and I complained that Walker, and every time he was on the radio, he had all these matches and challenges and add-ons and every time he was on the radio, Shareathon numbers were just going out the roof, and I just was like, now how fair is this? I'm following all these add-ons and challenges. Well, sure enough, I got rewarded for complaining because when I got in the studio, Jonathan, the AFR director of AFR, he texted me and said, "It's your turn. $150,000 challenge from 2 to 5, and I'll be on from 2 to 4 today." So I kind of got rewarded for complaining. I don't know how I feel about that. Huh?
Well, that's kind of good news, bad news, right? Like, it's great news that we have a challenge. It's bad news. We haven't met it.
That's
so you
right.
can call in and help us. 877-616-2396. 877-616-2396. Help us to beat Wesley, and of course, and Jesus love, we love him.
That's right.
It's just about a friendly rivalry between brothers. I'm the oldest of 5. Did you know that today is National Siblings Day, Wesley?
No, I did not know that. Okay, good to know.
Today is National Siblings Day. And so I think a little sibling rivalry would be great here. Call and help us to beat Wesley beat Walker, because Walker is like the king of the challenges.
Oh, yeah.
877-616-2396. Help us to knock him off. Just good-naturedly.
Yes.
Good-naturedly.
And Christian competitiveness. Hey, back to your question, 8 Days of Hope.
Yeah.
So 8 Days of Hope, we've been partnering with them since their conception. We helped at the beginning get them off the ground. They're based. They got a couple different headquarters now, but they're originally and they have a base, a headquarters here in Tupelo, Mississippi, where they have campuses all over the country. I probably say in the last couple of years, last 2 or 3 years, they began a division within 8 Days of Hope, working on building a safe house ministry, and that's what you were referring to. And
that's right.
They've done a wonderful job over the last couple of years. I'm reading here they've got 13 in 8 different states, I believe that is 7 different counseling care spaces. One of them is called Safe Harbor. I've got to see the video to it, and we got to be a part of the launching of it. So they're doing really good work there. And I mentioned before, but being able to come alongside other ministries and share our platform who are doing things that are involved in ministries that are slightly different than what we're doing, or in some cases a lot different, but it's all ministry oriented, is really good. I'm glad you were able to be a part of that conference. Now, you said you were a speaker. Is it that was your role?
Well, this week, yes, I'm I'm speaking at an international conference, sharing the work that we've done in schools, because human trafficking happens everywhere, all over the world. And Wesley, I've been really fortunate to work in a lot of different places. I started off at the state level. I've testified on behalf of state bills and worked with the lieutenant governor and state legislators. And then I also have been to Washington, D.C., and I have stomped up and down the Hill, Capitol Hill, and advised the U.S. Congress on some federal legislation that they had that was really talking, including health care in the response to human trafficking, because so many people who have been trafficked experience abuse or injuries or chronic illness, or just they have health care needs. And so I want to equip nurses, physicians, other healthcare providers to be able to respond. But I've also worked in Malaysia. I've worked with healthcare providers there. I've worked in Indonesia. I've worked in India, Australia, England, all over the world. And it's been really great to see God's heartbeat in that, and saying that we live in a broken world. We do live in a fallen world where sin is, but God raises up warriors. And that has been really, really encouraging to me, for sure.
Amen. 877-616-2396. 877-616-2396, or visit afr.net to help us continue to raise money to do the work that we're doing here at AFR. And we mentioned that right now, all the way to 5 p.m. is $150,000 challenge, $150,000 challenge There's obviously several individuals that make up a group of supporters who have come together, and I want to challenge you in that way. Now, yesterday on the program, I'm not sure how much you were able to catch up or hear anything about it, but I thought we did a really good job in the sense that we tried to treat the show as if you were with us, as if it was your. We answered a couple of questions about marriage and family and kids, and while at the same time we also hosted Shareathon. So I was really I was really thinking and trying to do my best I could to fill in while you were in your absence.
Well, I was going to ask you how it went, Wesley. And once again, if you're listening in, that number is 877-616-2396. I saw you and Tony on, and I was so grateful for that. I was wondering in my mind, are you going to behave? And I kind of hoped you did in a little bit, that you had a little bit of fun, right?
We did have fun, but we were focused. I mean, we definitely, it's hard for Tony and I not to have a little fun, but we didn't have as much fun as you probably would have guessed. We were pretty focused. We answered 2 questions yesterday.
Okay, what were they? I'm really interested to hear.
What are some of the spiritual habits that you lead your family in? So spiritual habits you lead your family in. I asked that for Tony. Then I asked him, what's some advice that you would give parents who have kids that use technology? So.
Oh, so what did he have to say?
He has shared.
Those are great questions.
Yep. And the first question that he had, spiritual habits that he does to lead his family, he actually went so far to distinguish the difference between some of the smaller ones and some he would call some of the more difficult ones. Mm-hmm. And then on the third segment, second question, what's some advice about technology? I gave him mine quickly. I was like, put them outside and lock the door. Put the kids outside and lock the door. No,
I didn't know if you were talking about the kids or the phones, Wesley.
Yeah, hey, Louis, that's a good answer for both, right? Put the phone outside and lock the door. No, we joked about that. I do think there's a time and a place for technology and screen. I summarized it into screen time is what I called it, because I mean, you could be watching TV, but I wouldn't consider that necessarily technology like I would if you said a Nintendo or iPad. But just screen time in general, there's a time and a place for it. We tried to, both of us, we had a lot of, we didn't even discuss or talk about it prior to the show, and we had a lot of the same reactions and comments. We said that we try to use it when there is, I wouldn't say you have to, because you never have to use technology, but like, for example, when you're traveling and you're stuck in a car for multiple hours, or maybe it's a rainy day and we've exhausted all the board games and coloring books we can, so that's another time to get out. And then there's just an opportunity for them to earn it based on if it's something they enjoy doing, if they can earn it through chores and through good behavior and grades and things like that, making them earn the time.
Well, I think that is great advice, and I'd love to talk to you more about technology, because that is one of the most common questions that I get. It's just a real challenge facing families today, but we've got a challenge in front of you today to call, and we have, what did you say, $150,000 challenge?
$150,000.
150, 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. Help Wesley beat his brother Walker in honor of Siblings Day. That I can think of no better way. 877-616-2396. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
American Family Association founder Don Wildman saw signs of the times long ago. At the turn of the century, he wrote these words, which ring even more true today. A dark cloud has descended on America. This cloud has left us unable to tell right from wrong. In pursuit of what is called politically correct, tolerant, and diverse, we have not only permitted, but promoted a way of life that, should we continue to follow it, will ultimately destroy this grand experiment we call America. There is a way to lift this cloud of darkness, a light to show the way. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." We need to do the best we can to follow that light and share Him with others. A reminder from the American Family Association.
Pastor Tony, I'm from Texas. Hi, I'm calling because I'm blessed by this radio station. I'm a Hispanic ministry pastor, and my days start at about 10 a.m. with today's issues, and I keep on listening all the way down till I'm done working, and I'm blessed by this radio station, edified, and I thank God for you guys. You guys keep me informed, and with the Hispanic community, I just pass on the information. We feel like we're very up to date. So thank you for everything you do. God bless you all.
Shareathon continues on American Family Radio, and we rejoice in God's promise to pour out His Spirit. Call now at 877-616-2396 or give online at afr.net. And thank you for partnering with AFR during Shareathon.
Won't you pour your spirit
Welcome back, friends. We are here on the last afternoon of Shareathon. You will see I am not joining in studio. I usually try to do that. I am the baby of the bunch as far as the American Family Radio lineup comes, because let me tell you, once people are on the radio, they love American Family Radio and they don't leave. It's very rare to have an opening, and I feel so blessed to have been able to join the lineup about a year and a half ago, and I'm so excited to be in Shareathon today. We have a $150,000 challenge for you to support this important work that we are doing, and the work that I'm doing here every day, Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Central Time. And if you're listening on podcast, I am prescribing hope for healthy families. Call in to donate 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. I'm having so much trouble with that number. That's why I'm saying it a million times. 877-616-2396. If you donate $30 a month or more, you get this really nice padfolio that I have here in my hand that I'm using to take notes today. I'm a paper and pen kind of girl. I know my husband, a rocket scientist, he is very chagrined that he has not been able to convert me to a technological calendar or pretty much anything else. I still like sticky notes and I like paper, but that's okay. Wesley, what about you? Are you a fan of technology? We were just talking about the challenges of technology. How do you feel about technology helping you on your everyday?
Yeah, obviously at times it can be very helpful from as far as organizing work. I don't do social media, so that's a different discussion for a different day. Don't get me on that one. But I don't do it. I think social media has its place also, but I don't do it for me personally. It was more I don't know, harmful is the word. It was more unhealthy, I guess, for me than it was helpful. So I got rid of social media probably 10 years ago. But I have enough people close enough to me that's connected on social media that if there is anything that's like that would be helpful for me to know, they usually forward it to me or send it to me. But all right, so before I take too hard of a detour on social media,
okay.
Back to the question of just daily work life. I find it very helpful. I use it. I don't enjoy learning about it because it seems to me as soon as I'm slower on learning that type of stuff anyway. So it seems to me by the time I've learned something or figured it out, then it's probably already changed, and therefore I get aggravated. So it's better for me, for my health, is I use it, and I'm thankful for it at work. On the other hand, and of course I trust my IT department. If I have a question or need something, I go to them quite a bit. But I also, at the same time, I use AFR Padfolios all the time. So my desk is full of those little note cards that you would usually write on the front, like a Bible verse or an answer or a question from school, and on the back you'd put the answer. You remember those?
It's got flashcards.
Flashcard. There you go. Okay.
Well,
I use my desk is full of flashcards. Now, if I just feel like this is an ongoing thing, then usually I'll find a place on technology to put it. But full of flashcards, full of Padfolios, I like to write things down, and then I like to mark them off. I like to visually and physically strike through a task that's been completed. It's a good feeling.
It is a great feeling. I have different color highlighters, and there's just something about writing it down in my own handwriting. It drives my husband crazy because he says, "Why can't we use the technology calendar?" But at the same time, he's one that doesn't use social media at all. So I feel like we all have our embrace. There's so many pros and cons of technology, but if you're listening out there, hey, use the technology that you have in your smartphone and give us a call or go online. But call us and donate at 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. Call in. It is your last chance. We have a $150,000 challenge right now that we are trying to match. So call in and give it. And Wesley, one of the things that impressed me about joining American Family Radio is that the technology is stout. It takes a lot of technology to run a radio station. And when there is an issue, you should see the board that we have, the cords, the microphone, the connection that we have. Even now I'm on the go. I'm at an international conference this week, Wesley, and I'm able to join right in. And when I first got all of this set up, I thought, how in the world am I going to do it? But thankfully, my husband showed me how. So thanks, honey. I appreciate you showing me how to use all the technology. So if you want to support that is all very expensive. Honestly, all of the technology it requires to be able to come on the air to you every single day. We'd love to have you participate. 877-616-2396. So here's my next question for you, Wesley. Do you and your siblings have a group text chat?
We do. But I got to do I'm sorry you asking me questions, and I got to take a detour. But I during the break, one of our co-workers, employees here at AFA came in the studio and said, "Please do me a favor." I said, "Anything," and they said, "Please give George Maduros a shout out. He just called in and donated during the first segment of this program that we were on, and he asked could we give him a shout out. And the reason is he's one of 8 Christians in Massachusetts that called it. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the reason why. No, that's not the reason why. No, he is from Massachusetts, and he jokingly said there's probably nobody else from Massachusetts calling in and financially supporting the work of AFR that got us maybe have a smaller audience there, and he just joked about it and said, "Well, could you get on there and could you ask them to give me a shout out?" So there we are. George Maduros, thank you from Massachusetts. Thank you so much for calling in and from all the way from Massachusetts.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. That reminds me, I had a 4th grade teacher, since we're taking a detour, Wesley, I had a 4th grade teacher from Massachusetts, and that's when I learned that people from Massachusetts put on everything.
Yeah,
so my name was not Jessica, it was Jessica. And,
I know that.
Here's a fun fact. So she was actually really good friends with Neil Armstrong. And of course, I grew up in Houston, and I have a very vivid memory one year of him coming to the school where his kids went to school, and I helped stack chairs in my 4th grade classroom with Neil Armstrong. How fun is that?
Wow, no way. So you were like in the same room with them, or like?
Oh yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I grew up in Space City. Actually, here's we're taking a way big detour, but that's okay.
Let me ask you this: what and I wrote down the question. We'll come back to it.
Okay. All right. Good.
What would be the
on your
timeline?
Padfolio? Did you write it on your Padfolio?
No, I wrote it on the sheet of paper that I gave you written permission to.
Okay.
Remember that one?
Yes,
that's
I
one
do. I do remember that. Yeah.
So what would be the timeline of you meeting him and him becoming the Lance Armstrong that everyone knows today?
No, Neil Armstrong,
I'm sorry,
the astronaut.
Not Lance.
Yeah, that's okay.
Neil Armstrong. Sorry.
A little different speed, a little different vehicles here, but that's okay. Yeah. So actually, it's kind of fun. I grew up in Space City, grew up in Clear Lake in the NASA area, and so grew up in and around astronauts all the time. And the world was very small to me at that time. I didn't have the opportunity to travel much. I think my first big time out of the state was to Vicksburg, Mississippi, to visit some family. So I didn't go far. The world was pretty small, but I didn't realize until I kind of, got out in the world that, hey, it's pretty cool to live around astronauts. That's not something that everybody gets to do. And so I'm a Gen Xer. So this would be in the 80s and the 90s and a little in the 70s. Okay, fine. I'll tell you, it was a little bit then too.
Nope.
But yeah, there was one time where I was doing an interview, and a local church let me we have the interview at the church. They had a studio set up, and so I was doing it for a media outlet. And the person who was interviewing me was really fascinated with space culture, and we were talking about Apollo 13. And he said, "Have you ever met anybody from Apollo 13?" I said, "Yeah, actually, you're sitting in the Sunday school class of one of the flight directors of Apollo 13."
Whoa,
So we
no
were able to
way.
call him and have him come up there and talk with him, and it's really a blessing. I love being a Houston girl.
Wow, that is awesome. Yeah, you'll have to apologize. I woke up this morning early, about 4:30 or 5, and I've only had 2 cups of coffee, and
Oh,
I'm just
no.
kind of, at this point, I'm just kind of making up stuff. So as far as I'm concerned, Neil Armstrong, Lance Armstrong, it's all the same, okay? It's all the same. Would you say 2 different vehicles? You said that was funny.
Yeah, 2 different vehicles. Well, there was one time where one of my best friends, her dad was a space shuttle pilot, and after he got back from a mission, he was taking us to the mall, and he got stopped for speeding, Wesley. And he told the police officer, he said, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm used to driving a vehicle that goes, I don't know, however many thousand miles an hour. I don't know exactly how fast the space shuttle goes."
Wow.
And he said, so it was hard to transition back to a Volvo.
Yeah,
And
can
do you
imagine.
know he got off? He
Oh,
didn't get
wow.
a ticket.
Good for him. Good for him. All right. Well, let me give out the number, and then we got to get to
Okay.
the
Oh, yeah.
question. All right.
Wow, we
number.
have really fallen down on our job. Okay, y'all help us out. Have
yeah,
some pity on
please
me
help
and
us
Wesley
out.
today. All right.
877-616-2396. 877-616-2396, or visit afr.net to help us during this time of a $150,000 challenge for AFR Shareathon, Spring Shareathon. $150,000 challenge. 877-616-2396. And if you have procrastinated, we would have told you on Tuesday, don't do that. But at this point, if you already have, now we're telling you don't wait any longer. You have a couple hours left till 5 p.m. is when the challenge ends, $150,000 challenge. So call in and make your pledge to help us continue the work that we're doing here at AFR.
Please do. Wesley and I are co-hosting today from halfway across the world, so show us some help here. Show some support. 877-616-2396. 877-616-2396. We're in the middle of a $150,000 challenge on the last day of Shareathon, and we have just really gone to the ends of the earth to be here for you. We would love to have you join us and be there for us. And so, Wesley, let's, before we forget, go back to that question. So you have a group chat on text with your siblings. I want to know about that. Does it have a name?
Okay, more specifically, we have a family group text. So you said
Okay.
siblings, so I want to be specific.
Okay.
My siblings, we usually text individually. There's a few times throughout the year when we're trying to make sure we don't get the same gift for Father's Day or something like that. We'll do a group text, but not daily. No, but our family text group is daily, or sometimes hourly. We're constantly either updating what we're doing for the weekend, if we're traveling for baseball, or if we got Easter lunch plans, or whatever it is for the week, we got that. And then of course mixed within dates and times of our gatherings, we've got all kind of funny things, like there's just 11 grandchildren between the 3 of us, so they're all at different ages and phases, and there's always something. There's either something funny going on, or there's an update going on, or in this case, this past week, we celebrated, I mentioned this on Tuesday, we celebrated my daughter's baptism, and so that was on group, that was our group chat for a while, so that's how we use it. It's used a lot, to answer your question.
Well, you can use your phone if you're listening and call in at 877-616-2396. Use your phone, call in, and participate in our $150,000 challenge on this last afternoon of Shareathon. I'm asking you from halfway across the world, 877-616-2396. So, Wesley, for me, I am the oldest of 5. I have a lot of nieces and nephews. They're 16. And so we're always like, pretty much our family group chat is whose baseball game or sports game is at what time,
Yep,
whose,
that's it.
school performance, whose, church event, like what is it? We're all trying to be there for each other's kids. And
That's
and
it.
I'm really grateful that I live just like you do. I live really close to my brothers and sisters, and we get together on the major holidays, and it's really great. So I want to give a shout out to my siblings who are faithful listeners and supporters, and I'm really grateful for all of you. It is really a pleasure to be the oldest and to boss you around for my whole life.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, but I get to do a little bit of that now. Mine's a little bit more passive aggressive with Walker. I just let him think he's in charge all the while. I kind of try to make everything his idea. I hope he's not listening now. I just gave away.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I was kind of feeling uncomfortable there.
But we like to have a good time. Hey, real quick, got a couple names here. We got Jeff from Mississippi, Guntown, Mississippi.
Hey, Jeff.
Jeff. You got Matt from Texas, Wilson from North Carolina.
Oh, Matt from Texas. Yeah.
Abilene. So that's going to be
Abilene up in the Panhandle.
Yep, that's right. And then we have Mark from Texas, another Texas there.
Texas in the house.
Listen,
Okay, here comes my obnoxious Texas.
Well, let's just get this out of the way. Texas is leading the way. So is that,
Texas is leading
You good
the way.
now? You good now?
I'm really almost ashamed to admit it, but actually I'm not.
They're leading the way.
Texas, everything's bigger and better in Texas, right?
So now that we got that
obnoxious.
out of the way, we're just going to skip Texas people altogether, okay? No, I'm just kidding.
No, Texas people call in 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. I know we have a lot of listeners in Texas. Hey, call in, represent. I love all states, but I am a Texan, like born and raised, and I think, it's been kind of hard to look back and see how many generations, but I know for sure at least 7. I think that have been in Texas. So I got deep Texas roots for sure.
Where would Randolph, Texas be?
Oh gosh, now you're going to ask me a pop quiz and I don't know.
I don't know
This
either.
is so embarrassing. Yeah. Randolph, I don't know where Randolph, Texas is, but I'm about to look it up and find out.
We got a caller from Randolph, Texas that's called in and is given. Hey, let me point this out as well. We've got 15,000. I want to get your comments on this. 15,113.
Okay, Trinity County, that's where it is.
Okay, so where would that be?
It says Fannin County, like up in East Texas. Like if you're looking at Texas and you see the Panhandle, to the right of that, like right by Oklahoma. That's what it looks like.
Gotcha.
So if you're calling in from Randolph, I'm hoping I'm getting that right. And I know like all of the counties in Texas, and I just didn't know Randolph, but now I do.
15,119 individual givers, which would be representing, in many cases, representing families. Something that I have observed over the years of traveling and meeting our supporters, and myself included, putting it all together, 11 years worth of it, I've noticed just how Satan will make you feel as if you're the only one that cares about, and then fill in the blank from a conservative perspective, when in reality, I'm looking right here, just over 2 days, 15,000 families have taken the time to call in and participate in Shareathon. What's that number?
877-616-2396. That's 877-616-2396. Call in, help me and Wesley out. We would love to contribute to this $150,000 challenge on the last day of Shareathon. 877-616-2396. That's the number, Wesley.
Amen. All right, we'll be back after this short break. Go to afr.net, and help us during this last chance challenge, $150,000 challenge. We will see you right after this break.
We'll see you.
Vice President Emeritus Buddy Smith.
As I think about my role here at AFA as a board member and then a staff member and a part of the leadership, I've seen a lot of changes, but one thing has always remained the same, and that is our mission. The mission here at AFA is one that's of vital importance, especially as I think about the turmoil that our nation is facing today. I think about this pleading prayer from Psalm 85:6, which says, "Will you not revive us again, that your people may rejoice in you?" You know, the problems we're facing today are just too large for human understanding. It seems like culturally we're becoming more and more secular, and we just need God's intervention in our nation today more than ever before. I don't know about you, but I just feel helpless in this battle. I know we all want to be involved politically and do our part to be salt and light, but we know that only God can save our nation. Thankfully, though, history has recorded periods of obedience when God's people have awakened and allowed His Spirit to take control. When we get serious, history has recorded that God gets serious. On several occasions, God has poured out His Spirit, and entire cities have turned to Him. I think about the moral impact of the First Great Awakening in this country back in 1734, and it's often accredited with laying the foundation for the formation of our system of government after the American Revolution. As I think about the Second Great Awakening in 1790, when the power of God fell from heaven, believers lay prostrate before the Lord in repentance, and society was transformed, spilled out of the church into the world. You know, the stresses and woes of our nation today are comparable to critical times in our nation in the past. And I just believe it could happen again. We've seen Him save our country in the past, and I urge us in this fall Shareathon to call on God to do it again. We just need a new work of God for a new generation, so the world may know there is indeed a God who lives and who empowers and who changes the destiny of those who call on Him.
Hi, my name's Connie, and I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and I direct an event in my state capital called Capitol House of Prayer, which is a prayer for leaders in our state, and I really glean a lot of necessary information from AFR to just get a greater understanding about ways to pray for government officials, and just really appreciate all the people there and the fact that they're holding the line. And I just want to say thanks.
It's Shareathon on American Family Radio. Help us rejoice in God's promise to pour out His Spirit. Call now at 877-616-2396 or give online at afr.net. And thank you for partnering with AFR during Shareathon.
Jesus, you can have it all. Won't you pour your Spirit out?
Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to this last afternoon of Shareathon. We are in the middle of a $150,000 challenge. We would love to have you call in and participate. 877-616-2396. That's 877-616-2396. I'm joining you from halfway across the world. I'm at an international conference presenting some of the work I've done as a professor in the anti-human trafficking advocacy space, which is primarily what I do. And thank you so much to all of you who have expressed your support for that. We have done several episodes in the past talking about human trafficking, what it looks like in this community. We've talked with other organizations that AFA supports, like 8 Days of Hope. I would encourage you to go back and look at that episode list, look at the podcast list, and find those about human trafficking. And you know, Wesley, it has been so gratifying because I do feel like God has granted me favor in the work that I've been doing in that. And I look at, my office when I'm at home and I see the awards that I've gotten, Texas Nurse Practitioner of the Year, Advocate of the Year, and I've never felt so bad to get an award. I don't want to get an award for this work because what I want is for people to be reached. But all of that pathway pathway has really led me here to the microphone at American Family Radio. And I'm able to talk about all of those upstream protective factors, all of those things that we can do to prescribe hope for healthy families and prevent families from experiencing some of those awful things that can happen in this world. And so I am just so thrilled to be here prescribing hope for healthy families. If you have been helped by that, we would love for you to call in at 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. And Wesley, as it is Siblings Day, I feel like you are my brother in Christ. I feel like, we tease each other. Like we have had some moments here where, you spilled your drink on my show. I gave you a sippy cup.
I still can't believe you call that a sippy cup. That is such a older sister talking down to his
Isn't
brother.
It?
Yes,
I
that's
know.
exactly
well,
what
I am
that
older
is.
than you.
Oh,
I'm older than you. But let's
cup.
help
I have
us
that, by the way.
You do?
Yeah,
well,
but
maybe you should be using it today. I don't know. I can't see your John Wesley cup. I don't know.
No, the John
I know
Wesley
you just went
cup
and refilled
this John Wesley cup's like a weapon. It's heavy. It's not going anywhere. You fill it up and you don't even have to have any liquid in there. It's not turning over. I mean, you would have to. Yeah, it's not going anywhere. But
that's good.
That little foam cup I had, that was just a mistake. I knew better than that. For those that don't know what we're talking about, it was this time last year?
First,
or the one before that?
it was the very first Shareathon. Well, here, let me
sure.
In here, Wesley.
Go ahead.
So it was my first Shareathon, and I didn't know what I was walking into. I'm brand new, just still a baby, which I enjoy being like considered the youngest in any stage of my life now. So I'm the youngest on the block for AFR, and they said, "Oh, you're going to need some help. We'll have Wesley come and help you. He knows what he's doing. He's an expert. He's a pro. Like it'll be fine." So we went and sat down, and it wasn't even the first 30 seconds that your coffee went all over the radio equipment. It was the perfect thing to set me at ease, though, Wesley.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like, okay, I belong here. These are my people.
Yeah, and you realize that life moved on. Everybody was okay. The old expression, don't cry over spilt milk. We're easy around here. Now we are from Mississippi, so we are more laid back. But yeah, I love it. We've got our priorities in order as it relates to what's gonna cause us to get worked up, and spilling coffee is not one of them. Hey, I want to mention this though. In our lineup of radio programming, we want to continue to fulfill our mission that God gave my Papa Don Wildman, and we're carrying it on. And the mission is to inform, equip, and to activate individuals and families to transform American culture, both here in the church, but also in the broader sense across the country, across the world. So, in doing so, we provide a variety of different radio programs. For the faithful listeners or regular listeners, you already know this, but let me just remind you, we cover things from politics, culture, entertainment, education. We cover a variety of different things. But to help us fulfill one of the other core values that we share, which is marriage and family, right toward the middle half of the day, or the second half of the day, we offer this programming with Dr. Peck, the Doctor Nurse Mom program, where she covers a heavy amount of marriage and family. And so this helps us fulfill the very thing and gives us a holistic approach, a complete worldview approach to everyday life and how we should live as Christians. I know it's so easy for us as Christians to find areas in which we either are more comfortable with or more passionate about. But as Christians, while we do need to maximize an area that we're good at as far as teaching and helping, in reality, though, as Christians, we need to be as versed as possible in every area of life, because as Christians, we're not, I mentioned this on Tuesday with you, but one of the things that my wife and I do well, and I also mentioned some things we need to work on, we do well, is we don't with our children, is we don't leave our Christianity at the door at home or at work or in public or travel baseball. We don't leave it anywhere. We take it with us. We pray, do devotions, and we consider the biblical principles to being on time and responsible and all these things. And that's what, with your programming, it helps AFA have that holistic approach, that complete worldview. And so it really completes the lineup ever since we've added you to this. I I know you're not supposed to, you don't want to comment but I'm bragging on you, but the content is good, and it helps us fulfill our mission. So for that reason, please call in 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396, or visit afr.net and help us during this last chance challenge, $150,000 challenge. Go ahead, Jessica.
Well, Wesley, I will take those compliments, and I thank you so very much. I hope Walker was listening because,
he actually
he's
just
my
walked
boss.
by. I think he is.
Oh, he
Yeah,
did? Okay, good,
yeah,
good.
he
Did you hear that? Okay, can you write that on my little note that you gave me? Also, Jessica's doing a good job.
That's a
No,
PS, yeah.
But I really want our listeners to know that my producer and I, Stephanie, we think every single day about the best way to serve them. How can we meet them where they are? How can we provide them encouragement? How can we let them know you're not alone? There are other people who have this struggle. There's help. There's hope. Here's some resources. Here's other people who are praying alongside you. That is really encouraging to me.
Amen.
And if you have been encouraged by that, call in at 877-616-2396. 877-616-2396. And Wesley, one of the things that I've talked about with you is the fact that American Family Association really is about the family. There are so many families who work together, and I was able to interview you and Wesley together, and then Riley the next day. We've already established Riley was Papa's favorite, and I will hold on to that forever because I've heard a lot of people saying that, laughing about that.
Yep.
But it's been great because I've been able to have my daughter on the show. She's been a guest. We've been sharing some of our journey and what we've learned together as a mother-daughter team. I've had my sister on the show. I have a sister who is also a pediatric nurse practitioner. How fun is that? And we've been able to have some really great conversations. And actually, one of the conversations we had was about child abuse prevention. Tough topic, but April is Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, and so we've been talking about every parent who loves the Lord wants to keep their child safe from abuse and from things that happen. And so these are tough topics sometimes, Wesley, that we have to talk about, but I really don't want to give a fear-based approach. I want listeners to walk away from our show feeling faith-informed, feeling like God has equipped them for such a time as this, and they can navigate any threat that is coming against their family, and they can find help and hope here to do that. And if you have been helped and found hope on this, we ask you to call in at 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396. So just thank you, Wesley. You all have been so welcoming to me. I always say I feel like if I could bring our listeners a casserole, like that's my impulse. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Well, they can bring us some help by calling in 877-616-2396, 877-616-2396, or visit afr.net. We're just going to go down a couple names here. I'm not sure if you're able to see these. You got Christopher from Illinois, Michael from Mississippi, Richard from Arkansas. We got Sheila from Ohio, Kenneth from Georgia. We have Pam from Tennessee. We have Dan from Indiana. And these are just a couple of those that have just called in most recently in the last 15 minutes to give their donation to help to help us with the challenge. The last chance challenge, $150,000, all the way up until 5 p.m. Central Time. We got just a couple minutes left on this program. If you would like to call in and financially support, we are, before I give the number out, I know most people maybe know this, but just a reminder, we don't get any government funding of any kind, and we're not for profit. Okay, so we're nonprofit. So we're the work that you do, the work that we do on your behalf, whether that be through radio, through video, through magazines, written content. We even send speakers and and pastors that go represent our views in D.C. from the pulpit. There's all kind of ways that we represent your ideas and your thoughts and a biblical worldview outside of just the radio, although that's a large part. And in order to do that, we are 100% dependent upon individual families and individuals and families to financially support the work we do. And you can do so through calling 877-616-2396 or visit afr.net.
Hey, and you read out all those names, Wesley. And what happened to all my Texas people?
I skipped them.
Ohio, Illinois. Oh, you skipped them. Okay. Y'all call in so much that he can't skip.
I can't stand it.
877-616-2396. Now, we won't even get into talking about the rivalries within Texas. You know, I hear
That's right.
My boys have been talking all about this Luka trade, and I finally said, what is that? I don't know. I can only have time to keep up with stuff. I know some people have already groaned and started throwing socks at the radio. You know, just no, we can't talk about that. But wherever you are, whatever you are doing this afternoon, you know, Wesley, we have had listeners call in and write in. We have listeners who are truck drivers who are driving across the country right now, delivering really critical supplies that we need. We have some that are in law enforcement who are patrolling the streets every day. We have teachers who listen in. We have an army of grannies who listen in at this time, who are sitting in the carpool line waiting to pick up their kids from school. We have people who are at work and working in an office and tuning in to listen. We have people who are at home who are, you know, walking the dog or working in the garden, all kinds. And it's so encouraging, just like you've said so many times, Wesley, to know all of these people all over the country. I have a map in my studio at home where I mark where we have people calling in from or people listening or if we have a giveaway. And it's just so encouraging to see, hey, this is all over the country. You can call in 877-616-2396. We would love to have you participate on this last afternoon of Shareathon. Are we doing good?
Yeah, we're doing good. 15,243. Well, 48 now. 15,248 individuals or families that have called in to pledge their commitment and their support to the content that we provide on AFR. And you know, if you think about it, I know for some these Monday or Tuesday through Thursday, if you've given on Tuesday, you're thinking, when is this going to end? We know it's going to end Thursday. That's today, this afternoon at 5 o'clock. However, just to provide a little bit of context, trying to get in the shoes of some listeners here, just a reminder, we only do this 6 days out of 365, 3 in the fall, 3 in the spring, where we are unashamedly taking a break from the content to say we are fundraising. We're passing the offering plate like churches do every Sunday. You know, we're taking the offering plate, we're passing around saying, we want to continue to work. Now, I also want to recognize how good our audience is because they have done so well for us we're able to only have to take a couple days a year. We don't have to do this weekly or monthly because they come. That when push comes to shove, they show up.
Well, and I'd like to thank Richard, my board operator, Cole, who operates the video for us, Sandy, our call screener, Stephanie, who's my producer. It takes a whole village just to put on this one show, and that's not even counting all the people behind the scenes, working the desk, manning the phones, turning on the lights, all of those things that are so important. Thank you so much for your support. 877-616-2396. Hey, listen, tomorrow I'm going to be live. I have a new show for you tomorrow. We'll be talking about 52 habits for healthy families, so don't miss it. Even though Shareathon's over, I'll see you tomorrow talking about the habit of the week, writing letters. See you then.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.